Hello. Didn't stream yesterday because it bit the inside of my fucking mouth. Among other things. Annoying. Whatever. They sure are taking their time. I thought this was supposed to be a 10-minute recess. Sorry to keep you losers waiting. But wait no longer. I won the race to find Delicia Scone, and here she is. Hello, dears. This lovely young man said you wanted to speak to me. Delicia Scone, purveyor of the most wondrous wares a pharmacist can offer, at your service. Delicia to my pals, and even Miss Delicious to some. You can call me the winner, and I'll call you whatever I want. Alright, Winnie Pooh, whatever you say. Lovely to meet you, dearie. So much for call me the winner. Oh, have we met before, young man? Get a load of this, Delicia. That's Miles Edgeworth, Gregory's son. I never. It's a pleasure to meet you, Milesy Smiles. If you must address me by my given name, just Miles will do. Greggy Pegleg's boy, and all grown up too. Makes me feel my age, why don't you? I wonder just how old she is. Eustace, I believe. Blech. Eustace, I believe we have some questions for our pharmacist. Oh yeah. What brings you to the gallery today, Miss Scone? Why, I came to see dear old Moody Judy, of course. We've been fast friends for 18 long years, and no one's going to stop me visiting her now. I understand that you helped look after Mr. Gusto in the immediate aftermath of the attack. Oh, I didn't do much, really. Just whipped up a quick antidote for our dear old doctor. Wow, you can make an antidote just like that? Oh yes, dear. As long as I have the right ingredients, I can throw together just about any medicine you like. It certainly helped that the medicinal room was well equipped, though. You're much better off treating him than losing vital minutes taking him to the hospital. Anyway, we did what we could. The rest, well, that's up to him. And do you know the victim, Miss Delicious? Oh yes, well, sort of. It's been 18 years since I last saw him. Apparently he's famous these days. One of the best confectioners in the world, or so they say. Interesting. So he's a well-known public figure. Oh yes, dear. He was on the news and everything. Confectionery crafting king of the world, they said. Wow, so the old dog really went to Shangfara and upped its game, just like he said he would. Perhaps if we could proceed to the matter at hand, Miss Scone. Are you familiar with a substance known as Infesticide Ultra? Of course, dear. You use it to well, get rid of you-know-whats. Oh, it's awfully strong, though. That's why they don't sell it in the shops. Might I ask what you mean by you-know-whats? Little biters that frighten the life out of poor innocent ladies like yours, truly, that's what. Ghastly little creatures running around people's nice clean kitchens and terrorizing them. Oh, I get it. Those. Thank you, Miss Scone. One more question, if you don't mind. Are you aware of what happens when the chemicals asphyxian and ubiquium are combined? Yes. It's right there in the Infesticide Ultra instructions. Do not mix with products containing ubiquium ever. Because if you do, they react with each other and make a horrible poisonous gas. What was it again? Effects of inhalation include respiratory complications and, well, death. And poor old Gusty very nearly didn't make it. To make that much gas you'd need, probably 500 milliliters of each chemical, I'd say.
He certainly talks like a skilled pharmacist.
Ubiquium's awfully thick and sticky, and it heats up very quickly indeed. It's also bright red and smells minty fresh. Oh, and cheap as chips. That's why they use it in everything. Asphyxian's more watery, and it's white in colour. That will do, thank you. You are clearly well informed, Miss Scone. That's when I should be, dearie. After all, Infesticide Ultra is made by the company I work for. Oh, but before you get the wrong idea, they don't go around handing out free samples. As I say, it's awfully terribly dangerous. You couldn't buy it even if you wanted to. Yes, Miss Scone. Very interesting indeed. I think that tells us all we need to know.
Strange. I thought she suspected Miss Scone. But something in that smile makes me wonder if she has some other angle in mind.
What is it, Detective Flatfoot? Any developments to report?
Yes, sir. Turns out the sculpture's glass display case is open from the top.
Huh? That's rather unusual.
And the temperatures inside can be adjusted too, all the way down to 0 degrees. The Pisces case was kept at 26 degrees. Dang near got my hands stuck to it.
How lucky you escaped alive. Anything more relevant to the case?
Yeah, they found something on the underside of the top part of the Pisces case. Traces of ubiquium.
Oh, now we're talking. Stuck to it, it should have stayed stuck. After all, at 26 degrees it would have been frozen solid. It would? So, how did things wind up as they are now?
I think Kay might be able to help us figure out just that. Or at least Mr. Thief might.
You guys are that desperate to get on my good side, huh? Fine. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but take it away. Can't believe I'm taking orders from this guy, but whatever. Anything for the truth. Before you get too carried away, the Goddess of Justice has no need for your help. We will find the truth ourselves.
Ouch. Why so frosty, Judge G? Your baby prosecutor just gave the big thumbs up. What's the issue here? Oh wait, don't tell me the committee has some dirty little secret it doesn't want us finding out.
I am not required to explain myself to you. And if you feel that you absolutely must participate in the investigation, perhaps you can prove to me that it will be worth our while to keep you around.
What exactly does she have in mind here?
Who triggered the release of the poison gas? If you can answer this question, I will consent to your participation in the investigation.
You heard the lady's smiles. Somebody opened the Pisces case and let out their gas. Considering what we learned so far, there's only one person it could possibly be, no? Yes, the answer is indisputable.
In that case, please kindly provide it now. Who released the poison gas?
The victim, Caramello Gusto, is the only person to have entered the Autumn Wing. Thus, only he could have opened the case.
Correct. That appears to be the only logical answer. Very well. I'll permit your participation in this investigation to continue. However, if at any point I feel you are contributing nothing of value, you will be removed immediately.
Understood. Even if Mr. Gusto did open the case, we still have no idea why.
Alright, Mr. Redrev. Tell me what you want to see.
Let's use the data we've created. There. Let's use the data we've collected to recreate the scene before the poison gas went off.
On it. Don't scare me like that. So this is what you were talking about. You're Mr. Thief.
Let's begin by examining the Pisces sculpture. There's a generous amount of ubiquium frozen to the underside of the top part of the case.
Yeah, which is what's keeping that lid on real tight.
Well, the actual glass lid is all cracked though, right? Somebody really went to town on your little house there, huh, Pisces? Do we have any idea how the glass lid might have come to be so cracked? Well, it doesn't look like the outer facing side of the glass suffered any damage. I see. So we have a cracked piece of glass that we know was ice cold on its inner facing side. We also know that it wasn't damaged in any direct way on its outer facing surface. Thoughts? Well, ice cold makes me think of the way you glare at people, sir.
Cracked makes me think about those deeply etched lines on your forehead.
It was cracked by heat expansion. Applying heat to ice cold glass from the outside will cause it to crack. Oh, well, I appreciate the science lesson, but why is it all heat cracked in the first place? Why indeed, a heat cracked glass lid, lined on its underside with frozen ubiquium. You look like the cat that got the cream, Miles Reno. You know what happened, don't you? I certainly do, and what's more, I know how Mr. Gusto opened the case.
What? But you didn't give me a chance to figure it out first.
Would have been quite the wait.
Well, don't keep it to yourself, Edgeworth. I want answers.
How did Mr. Gusto open the case?
Take that!
The blowtorch showed signs of having been used recently when it was found here in the Autumn Wing. I think it's likely that it was used on the glass lid, causing it to crack.
A blowtorch? Who uses a blowtorch to open a glass case? Oh, I get it. Mr. Gusto was trying to melt the frozen ubiquium so he could open the lid.
Indeed. Mr. Gusto was alone in the Autumn Wing. And while he was in here, he used this blowtorch to melt the frozen ubiquium on the underside of the lid.
Uh-huh. And?
As the ubiquium melted, it mixed with the asphyxiant that was already present inside the glass case. Did everyone involved with the IS-7 incident make the same mistake? We need to go and take another look at the Winter Wing. I have to see how quickly I can convince Mr. Winner, I suppose.
Eureka! Ladies and gentlemen, I have the answer.
The answer to what exactly?
The man was going to end it all. Dramatic exit sage left sort of artsy-fartsy farewell. Have you been listening at all this whole time? At my level, I barely need to listen to a word, and I still understand exactly half of what's going on. Perhaps I can explain a few of the finer details to you later, Eustace. Winner's prerogative. Winner's... sure. Thanks, Gavel.
Thank you indeed. I find it always best to leave things like child wrangling to a professional.
In the meantime, don't you have something to tell Mr. Edgeworth and his friends? Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
What is it now?
I took the liberty of investigating our friendly pink pharmacist here. Or rather, I had one of my underlings do it for me. That's nothing to brag about, you know. Shut up! Can't you see I'm talking? Anyway, let's put a pin in my suicide theory for now, yeah? I have something more important to tell you. It was Miss Delicious who set up the poison gas trap. How could you say that? I was greatly saddened to learn of this, Miss Scone. Your profession is one dedicated to saving lives, and yet you used your expertise to try to take one. I beg your pudding? How dare you? I did no such thing.
Perhaps you could explain, Mr. Winner.
You bet I can. Get a load of this. This is Miss Delicious's pharmacist license. And it says it right here that she's authorized to handle Infesticide Ultra.
The product that we have established contains asphyxion, one of the ingredients of our poison gas.
Exactly. It's almost impossible for ordinary people to get a hold of that stuff. But Miss Delicious is no ordinary person. She's a card-carrying pharmacist. I didn't do it. This is all just a terrible misunderstanding.
Objection!
That's not all. There was a bottle of Infesticide Ultra in the victim's pocket. And what do you know? It's covered in your fingerprints. Eek. We know that you and Miss Bound took the victim to the medical room. What better moment to slip the bottle into his pocket, No. There was only one person on the premises licensed to carry Infesticide Ultra, and that was you, Miss Scone. Furthermore, you are acquainted with Miss Bound, the owner of the gallery, meaning you have had access to the building and ample opportunity to prepare your trap. No, dear. Listen, you don't understand. That Infesticide Ultra was stolen from me. Lying will only lengthen your sentence, Miss Scone. I'm not lying. Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it.
What is she looking for?
That's not it. That's not it.
That cloth looks familiar.
Here we go. An I knew it was here somewhere. Look,
And what is this?
there's something written on it, I think.
April 1st. Complaint filed. Offence, theft. Items stolen, Infesticide Ultra. 1 bottle. It's a crime report relating to the theft.
Oh, what? See, you silly billies. I told you somebody pinched it off me a week ago, no less. By which you mean to say that it was not in your possession at any point today. That's exactly what I mean to say. I think the bottle you found might be the one I lost. I always have some in my medicine bag, just in case, you know. I was supposed to keep my bag locked up tight, but, well, I'd forget my head if it wasn't screwed on. Now, thanks to silly old me, someone's gone and mixed up a cloud of poison gas with the stuff.
I see, but why on earth would you carry such a hazardous substance around with you?
Like I said, just in case. You never know when one of them might appear. You mean the ghastly little creatures that run around in people's nice clean kitchens type of them? You can just roll up a newspaper and whack, one and done. Gavel, what do I do now? Of course. I think perhaps it might be wise to confirm the authenticity of the crime report, just to be safe. It can't hurt to verify Miss Scone's story after all. She may be lying to us. Good idea. Alright, I'm gonna go give the precinct a call. Don't go anywhere. So, Miss Scone might not be guilty after all?
Indeed, if she really were the one who set up the poison gas trap, then I highly doubt she would have used a method that directly implicates her. So, who do you think did it, Smiles? Someone with knowledge of the victim's likely behaviour, and the time and the means to prepare. 2 factors which point to one very specific person. Oh yeah? And who might that be? Don't leave us hanging, big guy. Who had the means to steal the Infesticide Ultra and dress one up to look like another?
Take that!
Surely only Miss Brown, the proprietor of these premises, could possibly have prepared in such a way. We'll need some solid evidence to support such a theory, nonetheless. So it was her, huh? Strange, it's like he already knew. You, nice shooting, Malzarino. I might have to make that associate position a permanent deal. That is not what I was hoping for.
I'm back with the results. The police have confirmed that the theft really was reported and logged, which means we may have been a little hasty with some of our conclusions, team.
You mean that every single one of your conclusions proved to be hogwash?
No, I mean, we're only just getting started.
Oh, then what's our next move?
Well, first we need to go and talk to Miss Bound.
And then?
Then we'll think about what to do after that. Eustace. Mr. Gusto's real destination appears to have been the Winter Wing. Perhaps it would be worth having someone investigate that room more thoroughly. Oh yeah, we should totally do that. Bradford, go investigate the Winter Wing.
Oh, yes, sure.
Gavel, we're going to talk to Miss Bound. Very good, Eustace.
We'll join you if you don't mind.
All right, you have your orders. Go talk to Bound for me. Hey, Mr. Winner, weren't we going to talk with Miss Bound ourselves? Sure, but I thought why not let the grunts handle the grunt work, you know? Means I can just sit back and wait for their report. A winning strategy.
You spoiled little.
He's so exhausting. I need a break. Huh? There's something in the fountain. Eesh! It's a body!
What on earth?
Order in the court. Somebody call forensics.
Bad news, sir. Real bad news.
Order, I will have order, detective.
The ice sculptures in the winter wing. They've all melted. What?
Huh?
Say? What is the meaning of this?
Now we have 2 victims.
Yeesh, talk about deja vu. Just like 18 years ago, even the ice melted again.
Again?
This is like some weird rerun. Same people, same everything. Said it before and I'll say it again. This is no coinky dink. You're with me, right, Miles Reno? I am. Well, I think the answers lie in the IS-7 incident itself. In fact, I'm convinced of it. Great minds think alike. Alrighty then. Time for another trip down memory lane. Okay, that was short. Still can't believe the IS-7 incident was Gregory's last case, although it's been 18 long years since. Murder at a confectionery contest, and of one of the participants no less, Artie Frost. They pulled his body out of a treasure chest that was a part of Samson Tangaroa's chocolate tableau. He'd been hit in the head with a large rock salt lamp and subsequently bled to death. He found the lamp hidden inside the county castle, delicious scone had made for the contest. But then, before anyone had the chance to investigate, Mr. Frost's homeroom. All of his icy creations had melted clean away. All of Mr. Frost's work destroyed. Mr. Von Karma wasn't very happy. He told us to get out and in no uncertain terms.
So, what do we do now, Mr. E? Can't believe he just up and kicked us out. Von Karma's a total jerk.
No, Eddie. It was always the job of the police and the prosecutor's office to investigate the scene.
Yeah, but he didn't have to talk to us like that. Who cares if we're cops or attorneys? We should all be working together to find the truth.
You can't assume that everybody's aims are the same as your own. You may wish to expose the truth, but others might prefer to accept things at face value. Which way of thinking is right will depend on the person.
But what if somebody innocent ends up behind bars because no one managed to uncover the truth?
Can happen. We're all human, police and prosecutors included. Which is why defense attorneys exist. Our job is to help people in just such situations, to be friends to the friendless. Friends to the friendless? Now, we may not be able to investigate the Winter Wing as hoped. That doesn't mean we give up.
You're right, Mr. E. Sorry, I should have thought more before I opened my big mouth.
You're young, Eddie. You'll learn soon enough.
I will, I promise. Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Fender, you look like you could use a little pick-me-up. I'm afraid this is all I have, but please, by all means. Whoa, you're the best, Miss Bound.
Thank you. A little sugar boost might actually help, although these are a little too sweet for my liking. And a little uniquely shaped.
I'm sorry if they're not to your taste. No way, they're great. They're so sweet. You're very kind. Imagine me of all people, medical confectionery. What? You mean you made those yourself? Yes. Samson loves chocolate, so I had to learn. Keeping him supplied with his favorite treats is just one of my many duties. Though he does spend most of the time coaching me on how to improve my technique. Mr. Tangaroa sure is a lucky guy. Getting to eat homemade sweets by the one and only Judy Bell whenever he wants sounds amazing. I'm sorry, did you say something?
Nope, nothing at all. Yeah, sweet Eddie. You really do still have a lot to learn. It seems you're quite committed to the work you do for Mr. Tangaroa, Miss Bound.
Of course. What right would I have to stay here otherwise?
What do you mean by that?
I was abandoned as a baby. Mr. Tangaroa took me in. That's right. One snowy Christmas Eve many years ago, he found me on the steps of this very mansion. He saved my life and became the father I never had. I can never repay him. So my work for him is the least I can do. I'll be here for him for as long as he needs me.
That's the most beautiful thing I ever heard. I must be getting old. I'm welling up a little myself.
And to think today is Christmas Eve. Can't even give him his present in person. I'd do anything to save him. Anything. Please, if there's something I can do to help, just say it.
You're very grateful, Miss Bound. Perhaps you could help us by answering a question. Did you know the victim?
Not very well, I'm afraid. Oh, but if you wanted to see some of his work, I have a picture of the sculptures he made for the final.
My, they're stunning.
Aren't they? I think they're masterpieces. Who would have thought you could make such intricate statues out of flavored ice? Samson adored them too.
Oh, hey, that's Taurus and Gemini, right? I didn't know you were keen on constellations and the zodiac, Eddie. Oh, I love it. The stories those stars can tell. Take Gemini, for example. See the lyre? That's the harp. That's what the harp is called. And the arrow and the... Hold up. The lyre doesn't have any strings. Huh? Did Mr. Frost forget to add them, maybe?
That doesn't sound like something he'd forget to do.
Wait, really? But I thought you just said you didn't know him very well.
Oh, well, he didn't seem like the type.
It seems she's got something to hide. You took this photograph yourself, Miss Bound.
Yes, I use this instant camera here. It develops the pictures as soon as you take them. It's so useful.
I'd love to see it in action.
Then why don't I take your picture?
Yes, come on, Mr. E. Let's get a shot of the both of us. Well, alright then. It would be a shame to waste a good hair day.
Ready? Say cheese. There, all done. And the picture's yours to keep, Mr. Fender.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's such a cool camera.
Well, it's the only one we've got, so we use it for all our picture-taking needs. It's very convenient, but a lack of negatives is something of a shame.
So there aren't any negatives for us to reference, huh? I assume Mr. Tangaroa used this same camera during the contest.
Yes, you assume correctly. He used it for some work-in-progress pictures of his seascape, and later to take some photos of the other contestants' work.
But didn't you take a picture of the body when you discovered it? Didn't you discover the body while the judging was still underway?
Yes. Samson wanted pictures of all the completed rooms. Film ran out just as he finished photographing Mr. Gusto's work. So he asked me to go put in a new cartridge. I seem to think there should have been more shots left than there were.
In other words, the film ran out sooner than expected.
Yes, the number of shots he took didn't line up with the number of shots remaining. But he thought maybe he just lost track somewhere along the way.
But had he really, though?
I went to our living area to change the film and was passing through the fountain room on my way back, when I heard the sound of something break and collapse in Samson's room. Ugh. Samson, are you in here? Mr. Frost's body was just lying there. I was in total shock. It was all too much. And I remember I called the police, and then I went to tell everybody else. And the camera, it's been with me ever since.
I see. I'd be grateful if you could lend us the camera in this picture, Miss Bound.
Of course, here you go.
Thank you.
Detective Bad, Miss Scone, are you done investigating? They're done with me, that's for certain. The big meanie told me to clear off. Honestly, that mannequins will be the end of me. The cheek of him.
I guess he got tired of people cluttering up his crime scene.
Did he run you off too, Detective Bad?
Yeah, Von Karma seems to think I'm a nuisance. Can't do things his way with me around. Why would Mr. Von Karma go so far as to exclude his own lead detective? Still, got a pretty good look at the scene. As for Gusto, he's enjoying a nice long chat right now in Frost's room.
What about
the fact that Miss Bound said she saw him going in there during the contest. Mr. Gusto went into Mr. Frost's room.
That's right, and I have to say he looked very much like he didn't want to be seen. Don't know what he could have been up to.
Well, he's candidate number one at the moment, as the guy who melted Frost's work. But is that really why Mr. Gusto went into Mr. Frost's room? Got a photo of the room right here if you need it. It's all yours.
Wait, what? Why would you just give it to us?
Do I gotta spell it out for you, kid? I'm offering to help you guys. I want the truth about this case to come out. Detective.
Really, Detective Bad? Mr. Von Karma won't be happy about this.
Yeah, well, I'm not Von Karma's stooge. If he's gonna stonewall my investigation, then I'm not gonna play by the book either. Can't let some pesky rules keep me from finding the truth. Now, can I, Mr. Edgeworth? Indeed. Thank you, Detective Bad.
Wow, can't believe you want to move on, Mr. E. Well, I haven't the foggiest what you're all going on about, but here's to new friends, eh?
It's definitely nice to have the good detective on our side, that's for sure. Alright, let's take a look at that photograph. Yeah. This is what Frost's room looks like right now.
Yikes. There's nothing left of his flavoured ice sculptures but puddles.
The floor appears to be completely covered in pale blue liquid. I shall compare this with the photo I just borrowed from Miss Bound. I assume that the unplugged power cord has something to do with all this. Yeah, once that was out of the socket, the display cases lost power, and the temperature went up.
Looks like they were all connected to the same power strip.
Do you have any idea when it was unplugged? Nope, still working on that.
Those sculptures were beautiful. What a waste. You can say that again. I should have taken a few more bites out of them while I had the chance. So they tasted good? Did they ever? I've never tried ices so scrumptious in my life. Really? Man, I wish I could have had a bite. Well, scrumptious except for the salty bit, of course. That was unbearable.
The salty bit?
It's in the other photo you got there. This bit. The harp thingy.
Gemini's Lear?
Wait. That's why it had no strings. Because you ate them. I didn't eat that much, you cheeky little devil. I told you it was all horrible and salty.
It's interesting that only one particular part of this, one particular statue tasted different from the rest. Could somebody other than Miss Scone really be responsible for eating the rest of the strings? Did you notice anything else, Miss Scone?
Come to think of it, I did. There was a funny little mark on Chillywink's work. It was 2 little letters. Let me see if I can draw it for you. There we go. Yes, it looked just like that.
Almost like a signature or something. Wait.
I just knew Mr. Frost wouldn't have made that heart without strings. He's not the type to skip an important detail like that.
I hope you don't mind me asking, Miss Bound, but are you certain you didn't know Mr. Frost particularly well?
What? No. I barely knew him, I swear.
Is that so? You certainly seem to have some strong opinions about his attitude toward his work.
No, I just... The sculptures were so carefully made, I didn't think he'd miss something so important.
I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. You have a more personal connection to his work than that.
What makes you say that?
I have an item of evidence that appears to have been one of Mr. Frost's possessions. And it shares a key feature with another piece of evidence.
Well, I won't know what you're talking about if you don't share. One of these 2 pieces of evidence of yours.
Which 2 items point to Mr. Frost? This is the first.
Take that!
And now the second. Is it this?
Look, there's something stamped on the bottom. It says by H.
I suppose that must be Paul Halque's pottery mark. Those are his initials after all. Miss Bound said she is a big fan of his work.
His initials, huh? So if I had made it, it would say EF?
Perhaps you should practice by initialing your personal belongings first. Anyway.
Take that!
Miss Scone found 2 letters carved into Mr. Frost's ice sculptures. I think they were a signature of sorts. After all, it's not unusual for an artist to initial their work.
I guess not. That's right, dear. It's just like you said. Chillywink's statues had the letter PH carved in them plain as day.
PH. Shouldn't it be AF? You'd think so, but take a look at this. It's the seal we found at the crime scene. It seems reasonable to assume that it fell from Mr. Frost's pocket. And when pressed into the surface of an item, it would leave behind the letters PH. The same pottery mark we see imprinted on the bottom of the items in the tea set. The same pottery mark? You've already established that the tea set is the work of the sculptor Paul Hallequy. From that we can assume that these same letters would mark any item out as a piece of his work. A fact of which you are well aware, correct, Miss Bound?
Well, yes. I knew that he always marks his work with his initials like that. He's never revealed his true identity in public, so it's the only way to know his works are truly his.
You mean Paul Hallequy was? That's right, Detective. Artie Frost had another identity. He was no ordinary confectioner, at least as far as Miss Bound was concerned. For you see, Mr. Frost was in fact... Mr. Frost was in fact none other than the famed sculptor Paul Hallequy.
What? Mr. Frost and Paul Hallequy were the same person?
But it's not like the marks aren't a copy though. Anyone who's seen it could fake being him with it. Not exactly conclusive proof that Frost was who you say he was. It was proof enough for Miss Bound. What matters is that she believed it. His true identity will have to be investigated by the good people of the precinct. Alright. I'll have the boys look into it.
I should have known I couldn't hide it from you, Mr. Edgeworth.
And you admit it. You were aware of who Mr. Frost really was.
I was. Discovered his body. I saw the seal you found. Don't ask me how, but I just knew straight away from the way that he was my dear Paul Hallequy. Imagine, his entries in a confectionery contest were his final legacy. Great man like that.
And, be honest, did you enter Mr. Frost's room at any point?
What? Why are you asking me that?
The photograph of Mr. Frost's room. I'd like to know when it was taken.
Oh, it must have gotten it mixed up with the one Samson took during the judging.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find that rather hard to believe. You said yourself that the camera ran out of film during the judging. And that you had... And that you've had... Bleh. And that you've had charge of the camera since before Mr. Tangaroa had the chance to visit Mr. Frost's room. That's how you were able to take that picture when you discovered Mr. Frost's body.
I suppose so.
It suggests that you took only 2 pictures with the new film, one of Mr. Frost's body and one of his room. I have a piece of evidence that says otherwise.
You do?
Which piece of evidence contradicts the assumption that Miss Bound only took 2 pictures? The camera itself.
Take that!
The camera?
You gave the pictures of the body to the police, and the picture of Mr. Frost's room to me.
Oh, and you gave us that picture you took of me and Mr. Edgeworth too.
3 photographs in total, and yet the film cartridge in this camera only has 3 exposures remaining. Out of a total of 20. You took more pictures, and I want to know what of. I'll need to see all of the photos you took. Perhaps then we'll finally learn what you were really up to.
I'm so sorry. Confess, I've been lying to you.
These are all shots of Rostrum.
I'm so sorry. It looks like she took pictures of his work from every possible angle.
And when they were taken, the ice still hadn't melted yet. Wait, don't tell me it was you.
It was. At least, I'm pretty sure it was.
You are? Why?
Well, you see, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Hargreaves' work, as you know. I was petrified that they might be ruined, what with the investigation that was going on and everything. So I thought I should at least capture the sculptures on film for posterity.
And how did that make them melt?
I think perhaps I was so intent on getting the perfect photographs that I might have tripped over the power cord without noticing.
My mistake. Are you sure?
I didn't notice it at the time, but, well, could I have been so careless as to cause the loss of his final masterpieces?
That seems a little convenient to me. I'm not sure I believe it. But I'm not in a position to refute it either.
So sorry, so sorry. I didn't mean to cause you any trouble.
Please, don't worry about it. The important thing is that you told us the truth.
What he said. No hard feelings, Miss Bound. Thank you.
Mr. Edgeworth. Picture's yours. Hope it helps. Are you infernal nuisances still here? You don't know when to give up. Linger for as long as you like. The answer is still the same. You are not part of this investigation. Whether we're part of it or not, we'll uncover the truth nonetheless. It seems you don't know when to shut up either, and I commend you on your stubbornness.
Mr. Von Kammer, I'm afraid I'm the one responsible for Mr. Frost's work melting.
What? What is the meaning of this?
I'm so sorry. And to you, Mr. Gusto.
No concern of mine. I didn't do anything if Mr. Von Kammer agrees. Nothing at all, Mr. Gusto? You went into Mr. Frost's room, didn't you? Perhaps you could tell us why. Sure, I was. Silence. You are not to give the attorney even the tiniest shred of information. Duty bound, you're coming with me. I have reason to believe that you are an accomplice of the accused Samson Tangaroa.
No, I
will be interrogating you personally, so you had better get your story in order.
I understand.
Wait, please. I'm not done questioning her myself. And you think I care because... Bad, Gusto, and you, Scone. I have questions for all of you, and I expect answers. Fine by me.
Oh, you could at least ask nicely, mannequins. He took literally everyone with him.
Indeed. Well, I suppose that means there's little point in us hanging around either. Perhaps it's time we got going anyway. It is rather late. I hope the snow has let up.
You're right. All time. Yeah, I guess my stomach's in agreement too.
Alright, let's go grab a burger. Before my own stomach starts grumbling too.
Sounds good to me. Let's eat up and rest up. We'll need to be fine fit for tomorrow.
Well, indeed. Our first port of call will be with Mr. Tangaroa. Odds there are a lot of it to be continues here.
Hey, it's Miss Bound. Oh, Mr. Fender. Mr. Edgeworth. I'm so sorry about what happened yesterday.
He looks rather tired. Has Mr. Von Karma finished interrogating you?
Yes, though he really only seemed interested in how I melted those sculptures.
Are you here to see Mr. Tangaroa too?
Yes, terribly worried about him.
Detective Bad? What are you doing back there? Oh, I just happened to be here. I'll be heading back to the scene soon.
Not sure how anyone just happens to be at a detention center, but okay.
Wasn't his hair black yesterday? Shit, I can't remember the voice I gave him. Good morning.
Mr. Tangaroa, what happened to you? Oh no. Samson, what did they do to you?
They didn't seem to want to let me sleep. I had no idea interrogations could be so involved. Or if I seem distracted, I think I'm a little tired. They're not letting you sleep?
That's not police work, that's torture. What's going on here, Detective Bad?
I'm not the one doing the interviewing. It's the guy they put on the case before me. I like Von Karma's methods about as much as you do, which is why I'm doing what I can to help. It was Detective Bad who got me out of there. I'd still be in that interrogation room right now if it weren't for him. Detective Bad really is trying to look out for Mr. Tangaroa in his own way, it seems. Alright, Eddie, let's share yesterday's finding with Mr. Tangaroa.
You got it, Mr. E. My notepad is at the ready.
Mr. Tangaroa, we found out quite a bit, if you'd like to hear it. Of course, thank you.
Are you alright, Mr. Tangaroa? You seem kinda spaced out.
I'm fine. I think my blood sugar might be running a little low.
Samson.
Do you have anything that might give him a little energy boost? Is that chocolate for me?
Oh, those are the chocolates I
wish I could just give them to you, Mr. Tangaroa, but the rules here don't exactly allow me to do so. Oh, that's a shame. But rules are rules, I suppose.
Must be some way we can hand them to him.
I hope Detective Bad is nothing the meaningful. I hope Detective Bad is noting the meaningful look in this direction. Let me take a look at them. If they seem legit, I might consider passing them on to the suspect. Thank you, Detective Bad.
My hero.
I'm touched. Thank you, Detective. Yeah, whatever. Just sit tight. Yeah. You don't know how much this means to me. Yeah, keep it down, will you? For both our sakes. Of course, Detective. I wouldn't wish to put your livelihood at risk. Now to sample these treats. Detective, I apologize for putting you in a tight spot. I didn't do it for you. It was my call.
Guess you're not such a bad guy after all.
Oh, the sweetness. I feel like a man reborn. Were they your handiwork, Judy?
Yes, how were they?
You'll melt, soft and smooth, chocolate that'll comfort and soothe. Ear to ear, head to toe, smile and savor the taste as it flows. Delicious. They're not exactly beautiful, but they're sweet and oh so flavorful. Thank you, Judy.
I'm so glad you like them.
And I'm glad you're back to your old self. My apologies, friends. The food they serve here is just so flavorless. Between that and the lack of sleep, I was about ready to collapse from sheer despair.
Wow, is the food here really all that bad?
Just the usual. French fries, ham sandwich, stuff like that. Yes, and yet I couldn't taste a thing. Anyway, I'm headed back to the scene. Before you go, Detective, do you have any new information to share? Oh yeah, you were right about the victim's identity. Frost worked as a sculptor in France, where he was known as Paul Harlequin. Artie Frost was Paul Harlequin? I never would have imagined.
Oh, Mr. Harlequin. So, the famous French sculptor wasn't a Frenchman after all, huh?
And this all would certainly explain why Mr. Harlequin was such a recluse and refused to show his face in public. He was busy working on his greatest masterpiece, apparently, a bunch of Zodiac statues. I guess I'll never finish them now.
Never finished his greatest masterpiece.
Nah, seems he was making statues for each season. But he never got around to the winter constellations.
The winter constellations? You mean Taurus and Gemini?
So the two he made out of ice would have completed the set.
Yeah, now they're nothing but puddles. What a bummer. I'm so sorry. Oh no, Miss Bound, I wasn't blaming you.
One last thing. Seems he had himself a bit of a spending habit when it came to his work. Every statue cost him millions to make, which means he was always strapped for cash. We're checking to see if there's any chance someone called in a debt.
I guess not even famous artists are safe from money problems.
Do you have any idea why he entered the confectionery contest? None. I didn't even tell his family. I see. Alright, I really gotta get going. I'll go fetch another guard, but I can't be hanging around here any longer. Understood, Detective. I'll see you again shortly. He's a good man. He certainly is. And an uncompromising one. Somebody who can be trusted to stand up for what he believes in.
And to scare the pants off anybody new he meets.
Now, you were going to tell me about what you learned yesterday. Of course, allow me to give you a full report. Thank you for that. And allow me to apologize on Judy's behalf.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine, Mr. Tangaroa. As I told her yesterday, the important thing is that we learn the truth in the end. Now, would you mind if I ask you a question or two? By all means. I'll gladly share all that I can. What can you tell me about the contestants who took part in the final round of the contest? Let's see, there was Miss Scone. I loved her design concept. Unfortunately, her entry was in violation of the rules, and so I had to disqualify her. Mr. Gusto's creations were a perfect balance of flavour and design, at least up through the semi-final. But disappointingly, his entry for the final was subpar on both counts. And there was actually something a little unusual about his entry for the semi-final as well. Which was, it tasted identical to Mr. Frost's. It may have looked different, but I could have sworn I was eating the same thing.
Huh? And what exactly does his work look like?
Oh, there should be a photograph back at my mansion.
I'll show it to you later, Mr. Edgeworth.
Much appreciated, Miss Pound. But Mr. Frost's entry for the finals, that was truly sublime.
So you were able to finish judging it, even though his body had been discovered in the meantime?
Yes, I wasn't aware of what happened until after I'd completed my assessment. Mr. Frost wasn't in his room when I visited, so I took the liberty of sampling a bit. Part of the leer, I believe. I'd never tasted anything like it. It was like a dream. I was so moved that I burst into song.
I'm sorry, but are you saying that the leer tasted good? I'd like to hear more about that if you don't mind.
You're quite sure it was the leer you tasted when you sampled Mr. Frost's work? I'm certain of it. It was part of the Gemini sculpture, which was the only sculpture in that display case. Mr. Tangaroa, would you mind taking a look at this photograph for me? So the part you tried was the leer, the one showing here without any strings. Oh, there were strings originally. And that was the part I ate. And the strings were missing because Mr. Tangaroa ate them all, and he enjoyed them? Miss Scone told us she ate part of the leer as well, but she said it was far too salty for her to finish. Then it's true. The truth is, I've suspected for a while that there might be something wrong with my sense of taste. Something wrong? How so exactly? There's a taste disorder characterized by an inability to detect salty flavors. And I suspect I've been suffering from it. I eat so many sweet foods on a daily basis that it took a while for me to even notice. But there's no denying it now. That would explain why the food here seems so bland to him.
What? But your taste buds are your livelihood.
Even if there was some long-term treatment option, I highly doubt a total cure for your condition exists. Nonetheless, you should put in a request to the police for a proper evaluation. Well, that won't be necessary. I have a recipe for a cure back at my mansion. You do? I do. You can take a look at it yourself if you like.
Samson, we can't show that recipe to just anybody.
Judy, Mr. Edgeworth is hardly just anybody. He's my attorney, and I have no secrets from him.
Yes, you're right, of course. If that is what you wish.
What on earth is this secret recipe for a miracle cure they've been hiding?
Well, I suppose I should be getting back.
Alright, we'll be right behind you. Judy.
Yes, Samson?
There's more to life than just me. Please, Judy, think about the life you want to live. Because I won't always be around.
Don't say that. Without you, I don't have a life to live. So I'll be waiting right there at the mansion until you come home. Now, if you'll excuse me. Wait, Miss Bound.
Judy.
Whoa, you seem really upset. I thought I saw tears in her eyes. Why'd you even say all that to her?
Because I worry about her. You can't keep putting my needs ahead of her own. What do you mean? The Halakri collection, the candy making. It's all because she thinks these things will make me happy. She never thinks about what she wants, what she likes. I just want her to be her own person, and to choose her own destiny. The last thing I want is for her to miss out on all that life has to offer because of me.
Guess that makes sense.
He really does see her as his own child. What parent wouldn't want their child to walk their own path? And what parent wouldn't do everything they could to protect them? I know exactly how he feels in this moment. I think I've asked you everything I can for now, Mr. Tangaroa. We should be getting back to the scene of the crime. Oh, you're leaving? I see. I suppose I'll be going back to the interrogation room for another session. Yes, we'll have to do something about that. You'll speak to the police for me? That too, but I'll be putting something else in place as well. An ace up our sleeve for when the time comes. I look forward to learning more. I'm counting on you, Mr. Ridgeworth.
We'll be back to brief you, Mr. Tangaroa, every day. And Judy too.
Thank you, Eddie. I look forward to it.
Mr. Tangaroa, your interrogator will do everything in his power to extract a confession from you. I hate to see an innocent man suffer like this. But please, you have to do everything you can to hold out. If you can't, Mr. Von Karma will use that confession against you for as long as this case lasts. And it will make it that much harder for me to save you.
I understand, and I'll try.
I won't give up until you're out of there, Mr. Tangaroa. You have my word on that. Detective Band, thank you again for what you did earlier. Yeah, thanks a ton.
What are you talking about?
Well, there's no need to be shy about it.
Never mind that for now. I'm guessing you two are back here looking to investigate some more.
We are indeed. We need something solid if we're going to save Mr. Tangaroa.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but apart from this room, the whole place is on lockdown.
What? But we need to see those other rooms.
This is Mr. Von Karma's doing, I presume. Who else? Haven't seen the autopsy report yet either. Guy's probably got a hand in that too. And don't expect to speak with anybody, except us cops and Miss Bound. Everybody else is gone, and I doubt Von Karma will be handing out phone numbers.
It's all just a game to him. Why does he have to go so far?
Well, what's your plan of action, Detective? Same as before. Do what I can to help you uncover the truth, like I promised. You have my gratitude.
Just you wait, Mr. Von Karma. We're gonna beat you in your bag of dirty tricks.
Detective, may we conduct a brief investigation of the area? Sure, but like I said, everywhere else is off bounds. You probably won't be seeing those rooms again.
That's fine. As long as there's at least some way of continuing our investigation, we'll make do.
statues on the fountain depict cherubs enjoying some chocolate fondue. All Aliqui's work, apparently. Gotta hand it to him, they look so real. Detective, are you saying you have personally seen cherubs before? Attorneys, always poking holes in people's words. Oh, did I do something wrong? God damn it, George. The sign shows which artist's work is on display in which room. From left to right, Mr. Tangaroa, Mr. Gusto, Miss Scone, and Mr. Frost. Incidentally, this sign is also made from candy. What were they going to do with all this candy? Was somebody going to eat it when the contest was over? Moment of your time, Eddie.
Sure thing, Mr. E. What's up?
Do you have any thoughts on the case?
Oh, you bet I do. Mr. Tangaroa's amazing display being used to store the body. Miss Skull's beautiful dreamscape being used to store the murder weapon. I'm really seeing some beautiful things being used for ugly purposes on this case, huh?
I suppose we are.
Make things worse, Miss Bound seems super down.
I asked if you had any thoughts on the case. I was thinking more about useful insights.
Oh, sorry, Mr. E. Did I do something wrong?
I worry about you sometimes, Eddie. You're liking your first crime scene investigation, Eddie.
Oh, it's great. I've been taking notes about everything and learning so much. So happy you let me tag along, Mr. Edgeworth.
So you want to be an attorney, huh?
You bet I do. I'd give anything to be a hero of justice, to help the helpless and fight for what's right. Last time I saw Mr. E do his thing in court, I knew I found my calling.
You know, cops look out for people too.
Sure, but I want to be an attorney.
Well, good luck to you. I get the feeling Detective Bad might be pining for an apprentice of his own. Excuse me, may I ask what you're investigating?
Sir, I'm analysing the fountain water to see what might be in it, sir.
And what did you find?
Chocolate. What looks like some kind of flavourings and colourings used in frozen desserts, sir. The composition of the chocolate seems to be the same as that of Mr. Tangaroa's work. And the flavourings and colourings match the profile of those used in Mr. Frost's ice sculptures.
Those little rivers flow from all four artists' rooms right here to this fountain. Guess that's how the stuff from the melted sculptures wound up in there.
And that's not all, sir. We also found blood.
What? Why is there blood in the water?
Think back to our investigation of the murder scene, Detective.
Take another look at the scene in front of us, Detective. A very conspicuous pool of blood that should be here is clearly missing. You're right. Don't remember anybody mentioning they'd removed the blood along with the body. The victim's blood was mysteriously absent, as was the part of the chocolate chest that it had pulled on. I believe that the blood probably belonged to...
Take that!
The victim, huh? I'll have the guy compare it with the blood on the murder weapon. It's a match. The blood in the fountain is Frost's. Why would someone want to send the victim's blood downstream and into the fountain like this? Seems these instruments are used on Mr. Tangaroa and Miss Bound's TV show, Bacon Bop. There's some of the few things in here that aren't made of candy. Is it just me, or does the detective seem a little disappointed? Lord Bad. There's a drum set here decorated to look as if it were made out of cakes. They must play it on Bacon Bop. Detective, about these drums. We already checked. There's nothing inside in here. No sign of anything having been put inside or taken out either. They're not relevant to the case. You've already done your homework, I see. I may like lollipops a little too much, but I'm no sucker. Authorised personnel only beyond this point, I'm afraid. Meaning what? I'm not authorised. Sorry, sir. No authorised personnel either. And nobody's allowed in. Let me guess. On Karma's orders. I was really starting to grind my gears. Santa Claus statue. Is this made of candy too? That door leads to Tangaroa's room, so yeah. Could be made that thing too. Speaking of Santa, that reminds me, I still need to find a present for Miles. I wanted an attorney's badge. I wonder if Mr. Tangaroa would make one out of candy for me if I asked. That's the door to Gusto's room. I guess the candy reindeer is meant to show the way. Big antlers like that must be a bull. I think not. Male reindeer shed their antlers in winter. Therefore this must be a female. Thanks, Mr. Trivia. Attorneys. They don't teach you about reindeer in law school, detective. This is quite the trophy. Awarded to Tangaroa, first place, International Confectioners Association Annual Spectacular. Made of candy. I guess it wasn't meant to last forever. Makes sense. Prizes, fame. None of it lasts forever, right? Doubt it's anything quite that deep. Where does this elevator go? On the second floor. Tangaroa and Bound live up there. Sounds like they live a pretty charmed life. Tea parties, candy making, that kind of thing. They even have a garden. Must be nice on a sunny day. That does sound nice. Perhaps they'll invite us when all this is over. You'd come, wouldn't you, detective? Don't get ahead of yourself now. I'm not in the habit of palling around with attorneys. These trophies all belong to Mr. Tangaroa. They're not all for confectionery contests. Some appear to be for charity work. Testament to both his character and his professional achievements. What's this one here? In recognition of Bacon Bop's long-standing achievement in making children's dreams come true. That's so sweet. Got me wanting to watch it. Scone's room is through there. Marked by a snowman. Candy snowman by the look of it. Oh yeah, I'll be. Really sizing it up. He isn't thinking of making that into his next lollipop, is he? It's a Christmas tree made from candy. These candy statues have everybody on edge. Events get in there. That's one scene ruined. Yes, it will be pretty disastrous, I suppose. There's Leah here, and some maracas designed to look like ice cream cones. They're so well made it's hard to tell what's candy and what's not just by looking. You really shouldn't touch them, but then they'd be disturbing the crime scene. Hands off. I already checked them out. They're real. Check them out how exactly? Did you manhandle vital evidence, detective? I didn't touch them. Not with my hands, at least. Did he? Never mind. I don't want to picture it. Miss Bound, we're here to continue our investigation.
Oh, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm so sorry about earlier.
She's still looking kinda down in the dumps, Mr. E. You must have been greatly taken aback by what Mr. Tangaroa had to say.
I found the photograph of the semi-final entries for you. Here, it's all yours.
Wow, Miss Scott sure knows how to make a cute cake.
Yes, Samson loved the design for that one. And he loves the designs and flavours of Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost entry, too. Only problem was, as Samson mentioned earlier, they tasted exactly the same. However, their respective entries for the final tasted nothing alike, it seems.
Was there anything else of note that changed between the semi-final and the final?
Nothing major, but I guess there was one thing. Mr. Gusto's son was always here with him throughout the contest, but he was nowhere to be seen during the final.
Why would his son come and hang out at a contest venue of all places? You're sure you're happy for us to keep hold of this?
Of course, I hope it helps with your investigation. Oh, and I also have the book containing the recipe for the cure Samson mentioned.
I've seen this book before. It was in the chocolate frame in Tangaroa's room.
That's right, he put it on display there so that everybody could see the grand prize.
What? The cure is in the Ultimate Cookbook? So it's not a book of dessert recipes, I take it?
Oh no, we told the contestants of course, but I guess nobody told you yet.
So the contestants all knew what the Ultimate Cookbook was this whole time. I'd like to hear more about the cookbook if you don't mind, Miss Bound. So, if I understand correctly, the Ultimate Cookbook is actually a collection of recipes for different medicines.
Exactly, or rather, totally new medications that haven't made it to the market yet, to be precise. To the right buyer, a pharmaceutical company for example, would be worth a fortune.
But why make that the grand prize in a confectionery contest?
Mr. Tangaroa is the sole heir to the Tangaroa family fortune. Perhaps you've heard of the Tangaroa Group.
Tangaroa Group? Yeah, I think I've heard of them somewhere before. It's a major pharmaceutical corporation. Sells all kind of pills and poison.
Oh yeah, that new Cold Killer Pro has been making some real waves since it went on sale.
I always reach for a cold killer when I'm feeling under the weather. Which is never as far as I've seen. I'd like to hear more about the Tangaroa Group, if you don't mind. So, did Mr. Tangaroa not want to take over for his parents and go into the family business?
No, he preferred the idea of making people's lives better through the power of confectionery. And his parents supported him in his quest to become the best in the world. Then, when they passed away, he inherited the cookbook.
But why would he make such a valuable heirloom a mere contest prize?
He's been hounded by so many people looking to make that book their own. He was tired of it. And it would have been an insult to his parents' memory simply to give it away. And we decided to find somebody he felt was worthy of it.
I'll bet the board of directors love that. Handing over the fruits of all their expensive research to someone else.
They hated the idea, of course, which is why Delicia entered the contest. Tangaroa Group wanted her to win the book back for them.
So, you knew she was a pharmacist all along?
Yes. Not only that, I told her how to appeal to Samson's tastes. I tried to help her win.
But why?
He wanted to protect Samson by protecting the Tangaroa group. If that cookbook fell into another company's hands, the board would never forgive him. So I wanted to find a way to keep it with the company, but in a way that Samson couldn't object to.
So that's how Miss Sco managed to make it so far in a contest she had no business taking part in.
But Miss Sco wasn't the only one pretending, was she? Mr. Frost wasn't really a confectioner either. He still made it all the way to the final just like she did. Not bad. Yes, unbelievable, isn't it? Such a talented sculptor and a gifted crafter of desserts too.
Gifted indeed, judging by the standard of his work in the final. But how did one man produce pieces of that size and quality in such a short period of time?
I'm not sure I have much more to tell you. But if there's anything else I can help you with, I'd be happy to, of course.
She's certainly very keen to ensure that she does all she can for Mr. Tangaroa. I could certainly use a cup of tea you've made us. Use a cup of the tea you made us yesterday if you wouldn't mind. I think that might help move the investigation along nicely.
Oh, I'll have some too. Your tea was to die for, Miss Bound. Well, how could I possibly refuse? I'll bring it right out. You know, I think that cheered her up a little.
We've learned a little more about the contest participants. There's still one question involving Mr. Gusto for which we never got an answer. Nothing at all, Mr. Gusto? You went into Mr. Frost's room, didn't you? Perhaps you could tell us why. Sure, I was. Silence. You are not to give the attorney even the tiniest shred of information. What was he doing in Mr. Frost's room? That's not all. I also have questions about the work he submitted to the semi-finals. Work he submitted for the semi-finals. A confectioner who admits to lacking design sense, and a sculptor with it in spades. Mr. Gusto could not have hoped to win such a high-level contest by himself. Which is why I'm beginning to wonder if there was some sort of connection between him and Mr. Frost. Detective, I need to ask Mr. Gusto a few more questions. This story still doesn't quite add up for me. Me neither. I need to figure out how to get in touch with him. Oh, do you now? Did you? Good luck with that, because I have no intention of allowing it. Mr. Von Karma. I'm already in the midst of my own investigation into Gusto, so there is no need for the likes of you to pester him with the same questions again. I will, however, be happy to answer any questions you might have. He was dead set on preventing me from talking to Mr. Gusto, in which case... Fine, then allow me to take you up on your offer. Very well. What is it? I'd like you to tell me about the connection between Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost. The connection between Gusto and Frost. It was simply a matter of coincidence. They both happened to be taking part in the same contest. And that's all? That's all I have to say to you.
What? But that doesn't help us at all.
We'll have to confront him with evidence if we want to draw the truth out of him. And it's imperative that we do. He's clearly hiding something.
Hold it!
Yes, there must have been connection of some kind. And if you would cease your baseless interruptions, I will happily tell you what it is. If this were a courtroom, I would have you removed for contempt.
But isn't that solely the judge's purview?
Yeah, Judge Von Karma will probably have dancing to his tune. What? Even judges are scared of him? Won't be an easy trial, that's for sure. Please, Master Von Karma, continue.
Hold it!
Granted, it may have simply been a coincidence that they both entered the same competition. But that doesn't rule out a connection of some other kind between the two of them. I do hate to repeat myself, but if you do not have any pertinent evidence, then kindly keep your mouth shut. Guess I'll just do as he says for now. At least until I find the evidence that proves Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost's connection. Still, the look in your eyes speaks volumes. Well, go on then. What are you trying to say? Make up your mind, will you? Should I keep my mouth shut or not? Seems Mr. Von Karma is keen to keeping us away from the truth. Which means the truth must be inconvenient to him somehow, right? Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost had something in common. I just need to present the thing they shared to Mr. Von Karma. I mean...
Objection!
I wonder if you could look at the two confectionaries in the foreground for me, Mr. Von Karma. They were made for the contestants' semi-finals. Both were quite exquisitely crafted, wouldn't you agree? Get to the point. As the nameplate suggests, they were Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost's entries. Mr. Gusto told us that confectionery design was far from his strong suit. And yet, his work in this picture is just as good as Mr. Frost's. Exactly as good, in fact. We learned from another witness that their two entries also tasted exactly the same. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that they were helping one another out. Let's take a closer look, shall we? While at first glance the two may appear to be superficially different, it soon becomes apparent that they are significant similarities in how they were put together. They are made of the same ingredients, taste the same, and share a similar design aesthetic. This picture is proof positive that the two were working together. If you figured that much out, I suppose there's little point in denying it. Mr. Von Karma knew all along that they were cooperating. But I'll warn you, none of what you're about to hear will be to your advantage. Let me confirm what you seem so desperate to prove. Gusto and Frost were indeed working together. Gusto spelled out the details of his relationship to Frost during his questioning last night. It seems they were helping one another right up until the day before the final. So, you knew that the two were cooperating. Mr. Von Karma, weren't you trying to bury the truth? Please, enough with the petty slander. I merely wanted to avoid you poking your nose around before I could provide proper context in court. It simply slipped my mind to explain that to you. Doesn't explain why he's being so slippery with the facts, though. I need to figure out what it is he's hiding. I can't let things end this way. End like this.
Hold it!
And you did know that there was a connection between the two. Why were you trying to hide it? I don't just hand out information like candy, and certainly not to the defense. Not like that lollipop nursing fool of a detective over there. You do things your way, and I'll do them mine. And you wonder why I refuse to share information with a traitor like you.
Hold it!
Last night, after Miss Frost Mr. Frost's work melted, correct? Yes, I interviewed Gusto personally.
Yeesh. One-on-one with Mr. Von Karma. Must have been terrifying.
I imagine Mr. Gusto probably meditated his way through the difficult parts. He most certainly did not, every time he closed his eyes. I brought him back with an almighty snap. No one dares to plead the fifth with me.
Did that even work on him?
And that is how I was able to perfectly learn every last detail of Gusto and Frost's relationship.
Hold it.
And why were they cooperating? Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best. Neither of them stood a chance of making it through the contest alone. So what was their endgame? Why cooperate only until the day before the finals? Gusto claims to have ended the scheme. Allegedly he wanted to win the final on his own merits. His one and only goal really was to be crowned the world's best confectioner. And his pride would not allow him to do so with the help of another.
Cheaters can only ever win hollow victories, I guess.
I was under the impression that their collaboration had only lasted through the semi-finals. I'm starting to think it might have lasted up through the final itself. Mr. Bonkama, I'd like to ask you some more about how long they worked together for, if you don't mind. If you must. Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best.
Hold it.
And you? Was that the same?
Before you ask, I'm not objecting to your characterization of Mr. Gusto's design sense.
Yeah, he admitted himself he isn't all that great.
He made what he alleged to be a likeness of me. Just thinking of the abomination he came out with turns my stomach. Yeah. I kinda like the guy's work. An artistically rich amateur and an artistically impoverished professional. In a way, it was inevitable that they would wind up working together. The two cooperated until the day before the final, then decided to compete on their own merits.
Hold it.
You really believed that they were cooperating until the day before the finals and then just simply stopped? That seems a little strange to me, wouldn't you agree? I've told you the truth. Whether you find it strange or not is none of my concern. I was concerned enough to try to hide it from me only a few minutes ago, though. Which means there must have been a reason for that. Based on Mr. Tangaroa's assessment, it sounded as if Mr. Frost's entry for the final was the clear winner.
Which means he must have still been working with Mr. Gusto, right?
That's precisely what I was thinking. Must have some evidence that proves they were cooperating right up through the finals.
Objection.
Okay, it is that. They weren't working together during the finals. I find that a little hard to believe. Miss Scone is on record as having described Mr. Frost's creations as scrumptious. And while he was certainly skilled, I doubt even he could have become a world-class confectioner overnight. It seems far more likely to me that he and Mr. Gusto were still cooperating during the finals. How many times must I explain this to you? Assertions require proof, and one person's entirely subjective statement is not proof of anything. Besides, Even amateurs can occasionally make delicious food. Perhaps Frost was simply lucky. My wife, for example, is an amateur whose cooking puts first-class chefs to shame. Was that not an entirely subjective statement? Furthermore, you are ignoring another crucial part of the pharmacist's testimony. Namely, that she also described some of Frost's work as having been unbearably salty. In other words, your evidence actually shows that Frost failed to produce the perfect confectionery. No more objections, I take it. There must be some way I can prove that Gusto and Frost were still collaborating.
Mr. E? There's something that's been on my mind.
Yes, what is it, Eddie?
Mr. Frost's entry for the finals. Wouldn't it have taken a while to make?
I would imagine so.
Making flavoured water, freezing it all, and then carving 2 whole sculptures? Could he really have done all that and help Mr. Gusto with his work? If it was me, I'd have barely gotten as far as the setting the flavoured water up for the freeze part. Just can't see how Mr. Frost could have pulled it off.
Oops, there's some lawyerly instinct in you after all, Eddie. Your ponderings certainly point to another possibility. Eddie's right. Mr. Frost would have needed to freeze his own large blocks of flavoured ice to create his art. There wouldn't have been time to do that during the contest itself. So... what must Mr. Frost have done in order to finish his flavoured ice entry within the time limit? He must have made the flavoured ice the day before, and all he would have had to do was sculpt it. What are you muttering about now? Oh, I'm sorry. I just realised something, that's all. I realised that you're correct.
What? Mr. E?
I hope you know what you're doing. Oh, accepting defeat at last, are we?
The only thing I'm accepting is that perhaps one of the things you said was true. They were helping one another right up until the day before the final. Just as you said, the day before the final really did mark the end of their collaboration. Mr. Frost's entry was carved entirely from blocks of flavoured ice. Ice which would have needed at least a day to freeze. And whose flavours would therefore have already been prepared by Mr. Gusto.
Yes, which lines up perfectly with what Gusto told me, that he helped Frost until the day before the final.
In that case, why didn't Mr. Frost reciprocate and help Mr. Gusto in return?
I can hardly be expected to read the minds of the dead.
Objection!
Perhaps not, but I imagine Mr. Gusto could tell us. So why don't you let us speak with him? Or do you still insist your interrogation was as thorough as you claim?
How dare you call my methods into question?
That's not my intention. I just don't understand why you would obstruct a perfectly valid line of inquiry. Give me one good reason as to why you're keeping Mr. Gusto from me.
One good reason, certainly. The how and why of Frost and Gusto's collaboration have absolutely no bearing on this case.
Objection!
How can you possibly say that with any certainty? If their relationship had broken down for some reason, that could very well have been the motive behind this murder.
Could it indeed? Then why did Gusto himself tell me all about it? Why did the man you seem so keen on accusing share the details of his collaboration with the prosecution? Please tell me you have some proof to back up your preposterous suspicions this time.
Mr. Gusto only acted suspiciously one time that we know of.
I imagine Mr. Von Karma is aware of exactly what that suspicious action was. Which means this is probably a trap. Well, cat got your tongue. But even if this is a trap, I can't back down now. Mr. Gusto snuck into Mr. Frost's room, and we still don't know why. That fact alone is reason enough to suspect him. If that's your only concern, then allow me to clear it up for you. I knew it. It was a trap. I was saving this for the trial, but consider it a taste of things to come. Plus, I'd hate for the proceedings to drag on because of your needless interjections. Here, take a look at this. That's Gusto and Frost, and their sons. Gusto snuck into Frost's room in order to retrieve this photograph. But why? It seems their sons attended the same elementary school. Gusto was concerned that the fact of Mr. Frost and his acquaintance might place him under undue suspicion. A concern that you have just proved was entirely well-founded. Gusto, your actions make perfect sense, and you have given me no reason to believe otherwise. Ugh. He's never going to let me talk to Mr. Gusto. Now, if you are quite done obstructing my investigation, I have things to be getting on with.
That smug, self-righteous jerk. Give him something to get on with. To be getting on with. What do we do, Mr. E? Mr. Tangero's finished if we can't figure something out.
Things to be getting on with. What exactly could those things be? He has a body, a murder weapon, and a suspect in custody. Prosecution means to pursue Mr. Tangaroa. Surely they have all they need. Why is Mr. Von Karma still investigating the scene of the crime?
Something on your mind, Mr. E?
I'm missing something. Something important. Mr. Von Karma has everything he needs to proceed with the prosecution of Mr. Tangaroa. And yet he still doesn't seem entirely confident of his case. If he was, why refuse to share information with Detective Bad? Who else? Haven't seen the autopsy report yet either. Guy's probably got a hand in that too. In addition, we still haven't solved the mystery of what happened to the evidence that went missing. Take another look at the scene in front of us, Detective. A very conspicuous pool of blood that should have been here is clearly missing. You're right. Don't remember anybody mentioning they removed the blood along with the body. Evidence that turned up not in Mr. Tangaroa's room, but in a most unusual place. It's a match. The blood in the fountain is Frost's. Well, there were no traces of Mr. Frost's blood left in Mr. Tangaroa's room. Yet we found some in the fountain instead. Why? Mr. Frost's blood went missing from the crime scene. Traces of it showed up in the fountain. Why go to the trouble of removing the blood from the scene after the body had been discovered? Why only the blood? Surely the body would have also been in the way. Wait, did someone have moved the body aside to get to the blood? so the body might have been moved aside, or even removed from the scene of the crime entirely. After all, as far as we know, there's still no autopsy report. We've learned plenty about the murder weapon and the suspect, very little about the body itself. Our assumption thus far has been that the body had been recovered by the forensics team. What if that assumption is false? What if Mr. Von Karma wouldn't show Detective Bad the autopsy report out of something other than spite? What if we've been thinking about this the wrong way around all along? The question isn't why did Mr. Von Karma hold back information about the body? It's did Mr. Von Karma even have any information about the body in the first place? How do things look from that angle? Perhaps the body hadn't been removed by the police in order to carry out an autopsy. Perhaps it had already been removed and hidden away by the culprit before their arrival. Mr. E? We've both heard the rumours about Mr. Von Karma's questionable methods. Fabricated witness statements, shady deals, forged evidence even.
Sure, everybody's heard of that stuff, but what has got to do with us right now?
I would never judge a person on the basis of rumours alone. Even Mr. Von Karma. I try my best not to let my preconceptions colour our interactions with him. Nonetheless, it appears he may indeed be willing to twist the truth to his own ends.
Twist the truth? You mean he's been playing dirty?
I fear he might have been, and still is. I'm not about to let him get away with it. I'm returning to the prosecutor's office. Don't bring a word about anything to that infernal attorney.
Yes, sir.
Hold it.
Yes, what is it now? I have a few questions, Mr. Von Karma, about a certain fact you've been keeping from us. Really? You mean to call the methods of an officially sanctioned investigation into question yet again? I'm warning you, if you obstruct the police in their work any further, there will be consequences.
Objection.
It's not the police I have an issue with, Mr. Von Karma. It's you. What? Isn't it on the prosecution to work out who the real culprit of a crime is? What foolishness is this? I have no intention of debating what the prosecution's role is or is not with the likes of you. But let me make one thing clear. My job is to identify suspects and ensure that every last one of them is convicted at all costs. Believe me when I say I have absolutely no room for doubt when I present my perfect, unassailable cases.
Objection.
And how far would you go for your perfect cases? Would you create facts out of whole cloth, perhaps? And I thought you had outdone yourself already. But now you intend to accuse me of fabricating evidence. I do. Because it is why you've done nothing but hinder Detective Bad from doing his job at every turn. What are you talking about? You didn't shut him out of the investigation because you wanted him to keep an eye on us. You did it to stop him from finding out that you don't have the body. What?
He doesn't have the body?
Ridiculous. You're clutching at straws. I will tolerate no more of your preposterous slander. Then allow us to examine it. Prove me wrong if you can. I'm afraid you'll have to try a little harder than that. I'm under no obligation whatsoever to prove your baseless accusations one way or another.
Objection.
As you must have seen for yourself, a piece of bloody chocolate is missing from the scene of the crime. Why did it disappear, and where did it go? What does it matter? Some blood went missing from the chest where the body was found. So what? So what indeed? That's precisely my question. If the body was still at the scene when the police got here, removing the blood would accomplish nothing. However, let us suppose for a moment that the body was not. If somebody had wanted to erase any trace of what had happened in that room, then it all makes perfect sense. What is this petty obsession with the blood stain? But since it's so important to you, why don't you tell me where you believe it went?
Of course, after all, evidence is everything, as you've never tire of telling us. I believe this should back up my theory quite nicely. What evidence do I have that shows where the blood from Mr. Tangaroa's room went?
Take that!
Traces of the victim's blood were found in the fountain, along with traces of chocolate from Mr. Tangaroa's room. I believe the missing piece of the blood-stained chocolate was dumped into the stream that flows to the fountain, which strongly points towards one certain fact. Someone purposely disposed of the blood after the body had been removed from the chest. Mr. Von Karma, where did you find the body? You didn't find it, did you? Answer me.
You. Where did you get your hands on that kind of evidence? You have neither the authority nor the means to carry out that kind of analysis on the fountain water. No, but I do. Curse you bad. You've been a thorn in my side from the moment you were assigned. And no longer. As of now, you are officially off the case. I was barely honoured in the first place.
Mr. Von Karma, you still haven't answered my question. Will you admit it? Will you confirm that no body was ever recovered?
It's really quite a claim, you know. And one for which you'll never find any proof, I'm afraid.
What must I do to get an answer out of him?
Now, if you don't mind, I've given quite enough of my precious time already. I look forward to destroying you in court, Gregory Edgeworth. Your precious logic and theories won't save you then. Nothing will.
Mark my words, Mr. Von Karma. Your methods will be your undoing. No matter how you try to hide the truth, I'll bring it all to light in the end. Forgive me, Detective. I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position.
Don't sweat it. It was always going to end this way. Honestly, nobody's ever sidelined me the way he did before. First time for everything, huh? No, I think you might be right about the body being missing.
I am, and I'll prove it in court.
Well, if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. Since, you know, I'm off the case now.
Very kind. I'm sorry to keep asking favours of you, Detective Bad. There is one more thing. Hey, what are you guys whispering about? Come on, let me in on the secret. Alright, Eddie. The detective and I were just arranging a little insurance for the trial. I think we have enough to see Mr. Tangaroa acquitted. But I'd prefer to have an ace in the hole just in case. And what is it? You'll find out in the courtroom. Wait, what? You're letting me join you? Of course I am. You are my assistant after all. I'll be more than that by next year. I'll be a full-fledged attorney, you know? We can take on Mr. Von Karma together. Indeed. Well, I'm hoping we'll have freed Mr. Tangaroa by then. But if we're up against Mr. Von Karma, I guess we can't rule out the possibility that this might take some time. Right, but we'll do everything we can in the meantime. I know you can beat Mr. Von Karma, Mr. E. I believe in you. Can't allow Mr. Tangaroa to remain in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And we won't. I'll expose Mr. Von Karma's lies if it's the last thing I do. there for now. Ah, damn it, Cher, don't make noises like that. Anyway, I'm starting to think Frost might still be alive. Who knows? But anyway, that will be all for now. We'll be back tomorrow with more. For now,